I've been in sourcing and procurement for a little over 20 years, and a lot of the things that I learned in that profession has helped to shape my personal and my financial life. So in today's video, I'm going to be going through how some of the things that I learned being in the sourcing and procurement field has helped to translate just into my general life. The very first thing is negotiation. So if you ever negotiated, it's a give and take process, right? You win some, you lose some. But one of the things that I learned early out of the gate by doing this is that you get 0% of the things that you don't ask for. So over the course of my career, I've made it a habit to I shoot for the stars, I shoot for the moon. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. And how I was able to utilize this to my advantage in my personal life was that I talked a lot about being in debt in my 20s, a lot on this channel. I've been very transparent about that. And one of the things that I used that particular skill to do was negotiate how I had to pay off some of the debts that I owed. A lot of people don't realize that if you're in debt, whether it's credit card, medical bills, things like that, those companies are willing to negotiate a settlement to get paid. The way they look at it is they'd rather have something than nothing. So if you're in a position to where you're struggling to pay off a debt, don't be afraid to pick up the phone, call those companies, negotiate for pennies on the dollar. A lot of them will. And then you negotiate a payment plan and you knock it out. Now, one of the best things about this is that you'll be able to clear off that debt. And then that can help to catapult your credit score, especially if you're younger or if you're just looking to be able to clean up your credit because you want to buy a house or whatever. So that's one of the things that I learned early out of the gate. If you don't ask for something, you're absolutely not going to get it. And 9 times out of 10, companies will negotiate a settlement with you in order to get something. All right, so the second thing that I learned from corporate America that translated into my personal life was learning how to run my household like a business. So in the corporate world, everything that most people talk about in these types of meetings are from a P&L perspective. What do the profits and losses look like? And early out of the gate, I had no concept of this. I've talked a lot about that on this channel about being in debt and being able to understand what P&L statements look like, what corporations think about on a year-to-year basis when it comes to how they manage their finances was a major contributing factor to helping me to understand I needed to have some type of framework like that within my household. So basically what ended up happening is I learned that skill in corporate America. And what I did is I started doing that on a monthly basis in my household. Sit down with my wife at the kitchen table and we would talk about what happened the prior month, what's coming up in the next month, so we can kind of plan for that. And as time went by, we moved it to quarterly. We would get every 3 months, sit down, maybe have a glass of wine or whatever we were drinking at that time. And we would just start talking about, okay, what happened in the first 3 months of the year? Did we stay on the task? Did we stay on budget? What's coming up for the next 3 months? Do we got, birthdays, celebrations, whatever, right? We started to have those conversations and really started to understand how our decisions impacted our financial household. Now I'm so locked in, I take a look at it twice a year. At the end of the year, I do a forecast, what I'm looking at for the following year. And then mid-year, I'll do something here in a couple weeks or so. I'll take a look at how the first half of the year went. And then I'll do kind of like a forecast for the rest of the year. Because for me, it's not so much of how much am I spending, it's how much am I wasting that I could be using to invest. That's the way that I look at it. So learning the importance of running my household like a business was the second skill that I learned from being in corporate America. The third thing that I learned from being in procurement was understanding the need for a yearly vendor audit. So in the corporate space in procurement, every year we take a look at all the vendors, all the partners that we're working with, and we evaluate them. Do they still make business sense? Are we paying industry rates? Are we paying more? Does it make sense to renegotiate based on things that had transpired over the previous year? So it's a true vendor audit. I started to do that personally as well. I did that with my car insurance company. We also do that with our homeowners insurance, right? So we take a look at how much we're paying. Are we paying competitive rates across the industry, which is here in Charlotte? And if not, do we take a look at replacing them with someone that's more in line with what the pricing should be? And that's just an example of a few of the things that we take a look at, but we do that for everything. Every service that we have, everything that we're paying for, we're constantly making sure that A, we're still getting the service that we're paying for, and B, we're not overpaying for it. And this takes maybe an hour, right? It takes an hour to go out and get a auto loan quote. It takes an hour to go out and get a new homeowner's insurance quote or a renter's insurance quote. It's not hard, but doing these types of things could save you thousands of dollars. The next skill that I took from corporate America was understanding tax liability. So this is still something that I'm trying to learn even to this day. But we all know that W-2 earners have the least amount of tax deductions available. It's one of the things that all politicians talk about. We're going to start hearing about this in November, about how certain people pay taxes and certain people don't. And for the longest time, I never understood that. I fell into that crowd of they should pay more taxes because they earn more money. And I'm not saying that I still don't have that type of mindset, but that's not the way that the economy is set up here in the US. The US, for lack of a better term, punishes W-2 employees and they reward business owners. So instead of complaining about how that is structured and set up, you gotta learn how to play the game. What's playing the game? Playing the game is understanding you need to start a business, you need to invest. There has to be some type of investment in helping to drive the economy, because that is where the tax breaks are, that is where the tax deductions are. And I really started to learn that in corporate America as I sit in some of these meetings and we're talking about tax liability, CapEx expenses. And for those of you that don't know what CapEx expenses are, they are expenses that a company incurs to improve the business, right? It could be servers for a data center. It could be building a new office building. You know, all of the things that go inside of the office that's going to be utilized to run that business. And what that does is the money that they spend on CapEx effectively reduces the amount of taxes that they have to pay at the end of the year. So understanding how taxes and how to avoid taxes and shelter your taxes, that's a cheat code. A lot of people get mad at that, but that's the way that our economy is set up. The people that run businesses and help to the economy to grow are the ones that actually get the tax breaks, and the people that work for a W-2 paycheck, they pay the most in taxes. It is what it is. All right, and then the last thing that I learned about corporate America was that your 9-to-5 job should not be the only thing that you depend on, and it shouldn't be what defines you. Those of us that have professional careers, we go in, we do our best between the hours of 8 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever your hours are. But I also learned that that can't be the only thing that you depend on to live on a month-to-month basis. We have seen layoffs going on across the country. Behemoth companies, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, you name it, laying people off left and right. I don't think we're done with layoffs. I think we're going to continue to see that for the rest of 2026 and maybe into 2027. I've learned from being in corporate America for over 20 years, the decisions that are made are not made from an emotional perspective. It's all about business. It's all about the bottom line. It's all about dollars and cents. That's what it is. And if you don't like that, that's fine, but it is what it is. Corporate America is a business, and their sole job is to maximize shareholder value. So if you are working in corporate America and that's all you have going on right now, it's something you need to evaluate. I'm not saying to be afraid or to be scared, but in order to have a strong offense, you need to have a much stronger defense. And that is being able to find ways to generate income outside of corporate America. So those are some of the things that I've learned from being in corporate America for over 20 years. I think the good has far outweighed the bad from my perspective and my experiences. And the reason that I say that is because it's helped to shape my personal life and help me get to where I am today. So what do you think? Those of you that are in corporate America, what are some of the things that your roles in that professional setting have done for you personally, good or bad? Leave a comment down below and let me know.